Hello everyone, welcome again. So children, in the last class we have started the first chapter, the rise of nationalism in Europe. So while discussing the chapter, we have given an introduction to the chapter, that what is nationalism all about and the factors that led to the rise of nationalist ideas or nationalism in Europe as a whole. So talking about nationalism, the French Revolution was instrumental in spreading the message of nationalism throughout Europe. As we know that the French Revolution was a revolution which was against the monarchy, which was against the prevailing class system or the social system which was seen there, and the inequalities amongst the people, where the third estate was overburdened with taxes, and the storming of the Bastille by the people belonging to the third estate, and ultimately the drafting of the constitution. So this message, it reached the ears of the people in other parts of Europe. Europe, it was not a nation till then, before the starting of this before the formation of the nation state, and even which led to the formation of nationalism or the nation state. And France has contributed a lot to the formation of nation state in the rest part of Europe. So there is a saying that when France sneezes, the rest of Europe catches cold. It is it is very much appropriate when we talk about the spirit of nationalism in the rest part of Europe. We have seen the society which prevail in France, and so the people in rest part of Europe, they too wanted to come out from this kingdoms and to be to have an independent nation of their own, so that they could be free and they could share a common identity amongst themselves. So talking about nationalism, it refers to the sense of having a collective sense of unity, and also a collective culture, oneness in culture amongst the people. So again, let us come back to France. French was made the national language in Paris, and later on it became the national language in the entire France, because prior to that in France there were various languages which were spoken, and after French becoming the national language, only one language was it was that language which was spoken by the people throughout France. So in the rest part of Europe, different dialects were there, different cultures was there, and until and unless they had a particular, there was one, this feeling of nationalism will never be possible. So they were fighting for, they were ready to have a oneness, to have a common culture, to have a common identity in order to form nation states, which was very much necessary for the development of the nation. And we have seen that monarchy was prevalent in France, and so also there were various monarchs in various parts of Europe. The Ottoman Empire was there, the Habsburg, also they had a monarch, and so on. They wanted to get rid of this system and to bring a change in the society. The ideal of La Patrie and Le Chitoy also, it began in France, and it was introduced to create a sense of collective identity and equal rights amongst the people. So this is the reason why this idea of La Patrie and Le Chitoy was very much talked about. When we talk about La Patrie, which is a fatherland, that means each and every individual of that nation, the citizens, it is their nation, it is their land, it is the fatherland, and so they have every right to be a part of that, and no one can stop them from enjoying their rights. So the next question that comes to our mind is that how the ideas spread to rest part of Europe. So the ideas of the French Revolution, it spread across Europe, and many students and other educated people, what they did, they started forming clubs, and those clubs were known as Jacobean clubs. And these Jacobean clubs, they had spread the message of nationalism, and the French army, they were also inspired. And so when they went to the other parts of Europe, they had spread the message of nationalism, and they were inspiring the people to form nation states and the consequences of nation states. So the French army, they had helped a lot in spreading the message, and this was possible only after the formation of the Jacobean clubs by students and other members of the middle class. So now let us talk about the society in Europe which was prevalent before the 19th century. Before the 19th century, the society, there were the aristocracy and peasantry were the two forms of people who were seen in Europe. So the aristocracy are the people who are rich, landlords, they are noblemen, and they had immense property of their own. Moreover, they also had the right to cast their vote because they used to pay tax, they were rich, they were influenced, and they dominated the political and social scenario in Europe. And they were also connected because they had a common ties, and that was possible through marriage. Whereas on the other hand, the peasantry class were not at all influential. They were poor, they were tenants, and they were not allowed to cast their vote, and they used to work in the land which belonged to the aristocracy. And so the people of Europe, they just wanted to change this form the way it was done in France, and they wanted to bring a change in the society so that they could have a say in the formation of the government. And then at that time emerged a new class of people in Europe, and they were the middle class. And this middle class consisted of the educated lot, the lawyers, the doctors, the teachers, and they wanted to bring a change in the entire setup. They wanted the society to be liberal, and they were influenced with the Statue of Liberty, which was seen in the first page of this chapter. where the Statue of Liberty has been shown holding the light of enlightenment in one hand, and on the other she was holding a Charter of Rights on the other hand. And that was the picture which was presented by the French artist Frederic Sérieux in his four prints which he had drawn before the formation of nation state. And the paintings of Sérieux also inspired the people in the rest part of Europe, because they were moving in a line, in a procession, and also he has shown the angels coming there with a ray of hope and blessings and blessing the people there who were in a line. So Frederic Sérieux is also he was also an inspiration to the other people in Europe. So now let us talk about liberalism as shown in the Statue of Liberty. Statue of Liberty. So what is liberalism? The word liberalism has been derived from the Latin word liber, which means to be free. So liberalism is associated with freedom, not only freedom in one aspect but in various aspects. And so that was also a great contribution to the people of Europe during that time, because they wanted a change. And we also know about the Civil Code of 1804, when Napoleon started ruling in France, and democracy was again a new set of power came with coming of Napoleon. In the initial days, in his initial days, he started some reforms through the Civil Code of 1804, which is also known as the Napoleonic Code. And we have already discussed about the Napoleonic Code in our early video. So the various reforms which were started by Napoleon, it was welcome and it was appreciated by the people, because they were good reforms, such as he did away with the privilege which people got according to their birth, then a uniform set of laws, and right to property. These were some of the very good reforms which Napoleon started and which was liked by all. But Napoleon later on, he started doing according to his own will, and some of the reforms such as doing away that women were not allowed to cast the vote, and only men who belong who used to pay taxes, who were influential and who were above the age of 25, they were allowed to cast their vote. And this was something which the people did not appreciate, and they wanted Napoleon to to change those reforms also, which were not liked by the people. And his main intention was to expand his territory, but some of the reforms, since they benefited the society, the people welcomed them and they preferred to go ahead with them. And after the defeat of Napoleon in the Battle of Waterloo, he was sent to the Helena Island, and thereafter he passed away there. And so after the death of Napoleon, and after his overthrown by his by the representatives of Prussia, Russia, and Britain who fought against him, there was a vacuum in the administrative setup, and Duke Metternich along and some other representatives of Europe, they met at Vienna in the year 1815, and the Treaty of Vienna was signed, and it is also known as the Vienna Congress also. The terms and conditions of this treaty was that the Bourbon dynasty, which was overthrown, was restored back to power. That is, again, France became monarchical, a monarchy, because the Bourbon dynasty was restored after the signing of the Treaty of Vienna. Then some of the states which were annexed by Napoleon, some states were set up on the boundary of France. It was done with the intention of not allowing France to expand their territories beyond those states, and that was the intention of doing so. But as we have already said that Napoleon, he started with some good reforms, and among those reforms there was one which was known as the German Confederation, and according to it, the number of states was 39, and this was considered to be a very good reform, and the people associated with the Vienna Congress, they did not change it, and they still continued with it because it was considered to be a very good reform. And the Vienna Congress also, they were happy with some other reforms which Napoleon made, such as the army, which was very efficient. They still continued to have that army, and they did not change it. Regarding the economic factor also, the economy in France, it was improving a lot, because when Louis XVI ascended to the throne, the treasury of France was totally empty, and somehow after Napoleon came to power, the condition, it improved. So the economic condition was also something which the people associated with the Vienna Congress still wanted to continue with it. And Jolverians were also formed, and it continued, and many changes were also made. When we talk about liberalism, we already know that what liberalism is all about, and it also brought an end of autocracy and other privileges which was based on birth. Also, a constitution was framed, and a representative government was also formed, which was liked by all the people there. And from seeing from the economic point of view, there was some liberalism which was associated with it. The trade barriers which was there, it was also abolished, and people did not face any problems with the new policy. And the Zollfarians, they abolished tariff barriers, and the number of currency, which was initially 30, it came down to 2. So this was also another good sign of liberalism. And the railway network was also promoted so that the people did not face problem, and so that it stimulated mobilization. Then we will see another form of change which took place in Europe and the formation of conservatism after 1815. And this is the formation of when we talk about the formation of conservatism, it is all about the people who are associated with the Congress of Vienna and the changes which came with the with the Treaty of Vienna. Moreover, it now saw a new phase, and that is the age of revolution. It started. Talking about the age of revolution, secret societies were formed, and those secret societies which were formed, it was the people of Europe. They were happy with the formation of those secret societies, and a person called Giuseppe Mazzini, he was a part of the secret society. He was born in Genoa in 1807, and the secret societies, they were known as Carbonari, and it was Giuseppe Mazzini, he formed Young Italy in Marseilles and Young Europe in Bern. But Duke Metternich, he was not at all happy with Mazzini, because he thought that his ideology, or the people associated with the Treaty of Vienna, they did not share the same ideology, and secret societies should not be formed according to Duke Metternich. And he said that it will, instead of doing good to the nation, it will not at all benefit. But Mazzini, he said that no, formation of this secret society, it will help in spreading spreading the feeling of nationalism more and more amongst the people. And the period from 1830 to 1848, it is known as the Age of Revolution. And later on, the Bourbon family, it was overthrown in July 1830, and the constitutional monarchy was established, because till now there was absolute monarchy since the Bourbon family was ruling. And when the Age of Revolution started in July 1830, the Bourbon family was removed from power. And Belgium, it broke away from the UK, and Greece had been a part of the Ottoman Empire since the 18th century. It was also struggling for freedom and struggling for independence. And as a result, the Treaty of Constantinople was signed in the year 1832, and with the signing of the Treaty of Constantinople in 1832, it recognized Greece as an independent nation, and Greece became free from the other parts of Europe. And so these are the events which were associated with when this Age of Revolution it started. And in Poland also, which was Prussia and Russia, they were the neighboring states of Poland. And during this period, Polish literature, it flourished, it blossomed, and many literary works were also created on the lines of nationalism, and it was instrumental in bringing a change there in Europe. And in Hungary, a revolution started, because Hungary too wanted to be a free nation, and it started their struggle for independence. It started on 15 March 1848, and it lasted for 1 year, 6 months and 11 days, and it was able to achieve independence from the Austrian Empire, which was under the Habsburg dynasty. So these are some of the changes which was seen in Europe after the formation of nation state, and with the spirit of nationalism, and people becoming more and more active who were ready to accept changes, and changes which benefited them. So this is all for today. We will be discussing the rest in the next video.